Beatrice, how
Let's
you
do it.
doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having
I'm
me.
pu- I'm pumped. I was looking on your LinkedIn. You're just about to hit 70,000 followers, and you do what I call a ghostwriting service for B2B founders on the tech side. What are they missing by not being on LinkedIn or by not taking this marketing aspect seriously?
Yeah, well, they're missing quite a lot to be completely honest.
Yeah.
And first of all is visibility, right? You can
Mm.
be amazing at what you're doing. You can have a successful business, a great team, a great product. I always see these people every day. But if you don't
Mm.
have that visibility for other people to know who you are and what you're doing, then you're missing out on clients, opportunities,
Yeah.
investment, so much.
What do you see? I think it's interesting to me. I kind of pick on some of the guys I used to work with because they own little tech firms now that are like $6 million to $12 million. And they were good salespeople. They were very corporate, like US centric corporate people. And they still post, even yesterday, they're just posting like the offsite that they did. Um, One guy was posting like an update from his booth every day. And so we're on video now, right? Like I took time to put some lighting in this hotel, and his booth looked hideous. And I'm like, man, nobody cares about these photos. Why do you keep updating about this booth? Why don't you think that they connect the dots here and think, all right, if I want to grow my business, I need to get some other form of attention?
That's a funny one because I think when you are in the trenches of your business, all you can think about
Mm,
is what you're building.
yeah,
And for you, that is the most important thing, right? But you have to,
yeah,
to think about your audience first and what is useful for them. Because just announcing, that you hired a new team member or you have a new milestone, it's simply not valuable for your audience. And so the
that's so
question
fair.
they should have in mind, yes, it's always what's in there for them, not for me.
I was judging him. I'm gonna admit, I was mad. I've known him a long time. And the first time he did it, I was like, okay, that's normal LinkedIn. But then the second day, it was like day 2 at booth 237 in the whatever form. And I could still see the bad wood frames. It looked like they were if you're in the US, they have like a VFW for war veterans. It's all dingy lighting and bad setups. And I was like, no, man, don't do day 2. Nobody cares about this. Then maybe so you have 70,000 followers on LinkedIn right now. What are some of the let's tempt them with some of the successes so we could show them the other side. And then I'd love it if you could unpack like really what makes a good client and then how they could do this much better. But what are the successes that you've seen when someone took this seriously? And then you mentioned like being in the room, what are those benefits that come from the other side of doing this well?
Totally. Well, like you started with my audience. I mean, a good example to give is myself because I
Yeah.
started from zero. And I used to use LinkedIn like most people still do, even though it changed a lot to,
Mm,
announce things, like you said, rather than build something. And
right.
this is where the difference, is right now with LinkedIn. It's not a place where you just announce a new hire or I'm humble to announce
Yeah.
post, but you're
Humble brag.
actually,
Yeah.
exactly, you are actually documenting your journey. You are sharing, your point of views, your ideas. And so to answer your question, like that growth was quite rapid for me and it got me
Mm,
into rooms, like I said, that I would never
mm,
imagine I would be, from speaking on stage, you know, being paid to speak, being paid to create, and to
yeah.
do what I enjoy the most, creating content for like top SaaS brands, tech brands, as well as working with clients that are, they have businesses between
Mm.
7 to 9 figures, in revenue. And so that would never been possible if I have not built my brand.
Yeah. Well, then tell us your story. So tell us about you. Who do you love to serve? We've kind of alluded to it. And then how do you normally go to market? Like, how do you serve them? And then tell us a little bit about your journey. What was that 0 to the 70,000? What have you done along the way?
Right. Yes. So I don't want to, frame that jump from 0 to 70,
Sure.
in a
Well,
in a
I will.
month,
I'm
because
sorry to
that was
interrupt you.
never.
I will say this. I've mentioned on the podcast before. I started taking LinkedIn seriously in March, so maybe April. I just picked a real strategy. I've been fortunate enough to have people like Nicolette Joxa on, Mandy McEwen. So I've just been taking tips from everyone. And I was your normal, like, I call them the 500 plus people. When you look at the bio, it'll say like 500 plus connections. But, I shifted the thing to followers, and I went from 1,200 to I'm about to hit 3,000 followers. So, or no, from 700, and then I doubled, and now I'm about to hit 3,000 followers. And I know in your world, that's not a lot of followers, but for me, I was like, oh, wow, like you just take it seriously, and all of a sudden it starts working. So it's not like 10,000 overnight, right? But it does really, the flywheel picks up fast.
Totally. And I mean, it's not really about the number of followers.
Yeah.
Like you said, like for you, 3,000 followers may be enough to, get
Yeah.
closer to the goals you have
Well, I need
professionally in your
50,000.
business.
I want, and I'll give you the goal for all the business owners. I am an ops guy, right? I serve a RevOps service, about 5,000 a month for small businesses now. I used to do that as a W-2, a full-time employee for $700 million companies. I fix things all day. I don't like selling. I'm not an outbound sales guy. I'm not good at it. I've gotten better as I've started my own business, but I want an inbound life. I want 50,000 followers that see me fixing things in like Go High Level or HubSpot or Claude Cowork, and I want that message that drops in that's like, hey, chat. And it did happen. It took about 5 weeks. Someone came in and said, do you do fractional RevOps? And I was like, wow, look at that. So yeah, I do want like 50,000. All right, but we were talking about you, who you like to serve, how you like to serve them. Also, what I meant by the journey is like, tell us where you're from. You said you're in Barcelona now. How'd you get there? Like what's that look like your day to day for you? What's your life look like now?
Yeah, sure. I'm originally from Romania. I was born and raised there. And then I moved to the UK where I studied. And then somehow the universe brought me to Barcelona because I actually really wanted to stay in the UK. I was looking
Yeah.
for an internship at that time. And I got an internship, but in Barcelona. And so this is what got me here. And I'm very grateful that I got rejected by all these big
I was gonna say,
companies in these
I feel
internships.
like you won. I love all
Yeah,
my British friends, but Barcelona's all right.
exactly. And not only that, but perhaps if I would have, that opportunity that I was so much looking forward then, working for Disney, for example, this was my dream when I was in
Oh,
university.
very cool.
Perhaps, yeah, it's cool, but maybe I would have not been here, and started my business. And I never had a 9 to 5 job. I only had like a few internships here and there. And then
Wow.
I went straight to deep waters without really knowing what I'm doing. And I started freelancing on copywriting in the beginning. And then slowly I transitioned to LinkedIn, but that was not because I knew its potential. I just started posting there and kind of sharing my thoughts, and a few posts got viral. Then I had people starting messaging me and asking me, can you do this for me? And I was like, oh,
Very
is
cool.
this a thing?
You know what would
And
be
this sounds
interesting is I think about, I do the podcast because I love talking to you guys. Like, I'm fascinated by the CROs, the CFOs, all the salespeople that come on, the business leaders. And then I've really loved I don't do a lot of marketers, right? But I've really loved the copywriters, the content marketing. You'll position yourself as LinkedIn. I want to talk about that because I do think LinkedIn is undervalued right now for a lot of business owners. But really what you're doing applies on websites. It applies on X or Twitter, whatever we're calling it now. And even I'm building out a Go High Level instance for a sign shop in the US. But part of that is like building landing pages for them. Well, I'm not good at the copy. I can look at a website and build the website and add the images, but it's a very specific skill to have a headline that works or have a hook that actually keeps someone for a millisecond. So maybe
Totally.
maybe before we get too far, I know you can't give specifics all the time, but is there a win from a client that you really loved? Like maybe they got the speaking engagement or they got some new business, and like, how did that go? What did that look like for them?
Yes, plenty. Well, one client that comes to mind, it was this client from the M&A space. And this was the biggest win I've seen in a client because
Okay.
literally we did one post. The
Okay.
first post
I'm excited.
was an intro post. And from that one post, because it was so personal and because it was not salesy at all, he got actually 2 deals that sum up to $50,000. So that came from one post, and the first post we did together.
What was the model of that? I'm gonna have to try that. That's the second story I've heard like that. Someone did it for a CFO and they did the year journey I've seen before. You know, it's like 2020, 2022, worked really well for them. What was the model of that personal post?
It was an introduction post. So we focused on his experience, past experience before starting going solo, his business, and then who is he serving is his business, and also what kind of content the audience can expect. So we're prepping the audience for him starting to create content, so it doesn't feel like out of nowhere. And yeah, that got the attention of the right person. It was seen in the right way, and then we got these 2 deals. But of course, you know, that can totally happen, but it's not the standard for everyone posting an intro post.
I've kind of gone unhinged lately on LinkedIn. I'm trying a couple different things. So the podcast produces content. So that's 2 videos a week. And then I try to do something that's very proof driven. This came from MJ Jandal from Stan for Business. So I try to make it real clear, like a screenshot, a video. But then lately I've just been like, here's a random thought, and then just putting it out there. And I'm also trying to see, people will tell you to only post once a day. I'm starting to see that LinkedIn has an interesting algorithm. I call it like the hopper model. So they might not give you a lot of distribution, but they trickle it out later. So like yesterday, if I did 3 posts, they were all slightly different, but they were kind of relevant to my audience. What I've noticed is it's bringing in different audiences on each one. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, it's almost like I get the flywheel effect on each one, but like my casual friends that just wanted to ha at, I forgot, it was something very, very lighthearted. They're there. And then the one that was talking very specifically about a technology, it's bringing them in. And then one of my normally scheduled posts is bringing them in too. So I'm trying to just, while I'm still a small audience, lean in to see what really works there. But I'm probably doing it wrong, to be clear. So I don't suggest anyone look at me and model what I'm doing.
Well, the thing with the algorithm is that it changes, and it's always going to change. So I always believe that it's way better to understand your audience, to understand what's important for them, and to also really into the psychology of your buyer, to be able to meet them where they're at. And the truth is that if you're chasing the algorithm and all these changes, you're just going to end up sell your soul to it, you know?
For sure.
And every morning you have to make a new sacrifice, ideally before 9 a.m., ideally with a good hook.
Yeah, so isn't that funny? Because that's what I mean by I feel like I went unhinged. Let me see if I can find it. Not that this show is about me, but where's posts? Yeah, so I had one was technology. Okay, and then one was like this little riff. I just had a one-liner said, I did a PowerPoint all on my own today, felt like a kid again. And it had 2 little emojis, which I don't normally do. And it's had this subtle thing because in my corporate world, everyone's all into this like AI does everything for me. And so there were some undertones of like, I thought for myself today. Also, I was poking fun at myself. And then it was a nod back to being younger in college. And And I did that late in the afternoon, and I did that just on a thought. And so all those things, there was no like, what have you been doing today? No question at the end. There was no, oh, I got to post it before 9 a.m. because my audience is on 9 to 5. There was no, is the hook strong? Although I have noticed that if you have I within the first 5 words, that almost becomes a hook in and of itself. So that was intentional. Yeah, I'm just kind of leaning into like, what happens if we just connect a little bit more like office banter? And if I became like this hub where like-minded professionals were like around the water cooler is what they would say in English. So it's been
So
interesting.
that's why it worked, because it was personal and because it was something that AI cannot replicate, because AI doesn't know how you felt when you wrote that, right? Doesn't know what happened a few years ago in your life or how you were feeling as a kid, right? All these things came from you, and that's why they were valuable. And the fact that you treated with a little bit, of humor and being lighthearted about it, that really connected to your audience. And this is the goal of a personal brand, because it is called personal for a reason. And so what you did there, it's exactly how you should move forward. And of course, using the content as, a mechanism to achieve your goals, your business goals, your professional goals, because through your content, you send signals, right? And these signals are what everyone wants, like you were saying in the beginning as well, being seen by the audience and having them come to you, because no one loves a cold sell, right? Or a pitch slap.
Yeah. That's so good though. Maybe spend some time. For a long time, I was a high paid corporate guy, and I understood reputation. And I also thought I had a kind of an arrogance on LinkedIn where I had a reputation, right? Because I was connected to these 700 people that I really did work with. They were big names in other corporations. But what do you tell a founder about personal brands? In fact, I think you had like a common misconception that you'd like to talk to them about the influence and influencer, but really unpack a personal brand for them. Like, how do you make this case and say, look, you've got to be on this. This is what it is. This is what it isn't. And this is why you really have to take it seriously.
Yeah, as well, you can't be in all rooms at all times, right? So you have to have a different way that builds that trust and that authority and that visibility for you 24/7. And this is what content does, and your brand, if you want to call it that, because you cannot just go to networking events, or rely on people, because you only know so many people, right?
Yes.
And so that's why it's so important to be visible, because that visibility can open doors that you didn't even think it's possible for you to knock at. So that's one thing. And second thing, it's, where we're at with technology, with all businesses, they're like 90% of them, right, are online. And so it's so important to have that online presence, that reputation, because your customers are online too. And if you're not showing up where they're at, then you're missing out and they cannot see you. So when they have a choice to make to solve a problem they have, they're going to go with the most visible person, because that's the person that they got to see, they got to know, to like and trust. And so it's really not just about, oh, look at me, I'm popular, I'm present on LinkedIn, I'm present on X or any platform. It's being in front of the right people and being seen in the right way. And what you mentioned earlier about influence versus being an influencer, they are two different games. And I feel like we are using these terms interchangeably, and also founders confuse these terms, and fair enough, because they are used with the same meaning.
Well, but unpack that one, because so first off, I think one thing you said in there that really I always have to remind myself of. I listened to a competitor's demo to a client that I'm working with on the technical side. I'm doing one technical thing, the competitor's doing another technical thing. And the client sent me this video, which, whatever, God bless him. And I was watching the demo and I'm like, this guy's horrible. horrible. Like everything he's saying is wrong. It's empty. He's not backing it up with any support. But then I realized like he's got a brand. He runs an agency, and I know his model well because I used to support it on my tech side. And so part of it, I was like mad, like he's selling you words that aren't even real. But then on the other hand, I just admired it. I'm like, all right, well, this client's taking you seriously because you have a brand. And the message to me was, I need to have a brand. So what you said was like, if you're not getting seen, you're not getting the business. And if you're smug, like me, or arrogant like me, it's a hard pill to swallow. Like you can't just be better at what you do. The customer needs to know you exist and that you're able to help them. So that one's huge. But what is that on the influencer? What is the difference? Like what do they misunderstand here? What would you call an influencer, and then compared to like what just having influences?
Right. Okay, so let's start with the first concept, being an influencer. It's all about the number of followers, like you said. Like, want to have more followers. So it's all about the virality. It's about the likes and all these vanity metrics, which, like, granted, if you want to be an influencer and this is your career, absolutely. I mean, first, it's very hard to sustain that. And secondly, like you have to compete to the 1% of the best influencers out there, right? But when we're talking about building influence, this is what actually the founders want. They don't want to be influencers. They want that influence that brings them the respect they deserve, the trust and the authority in their space. And they become that key person of influence, like Daniel Presley says.
I love his book.
Exactly
so you're familiar with his material?
Yes. I
so
love
good.
It.
For the audience, if you haven't heard of it, it's Daniel Priestley. One of his main books is Key Person of Influence. I also really love, what's the one about the waiting list? Do you remember the name?
I can't recall the name now, but the one that stayed with me was Key Person of Influence. Really good book.
Yeah. Also, by the way, a strategy of being a key person of influence is coming on podcasts like this. So congratulations, Beatrice. I appreciate you pouring content into the world. I just had someone, it's funny, let's unpack, I still want to unpack this personal brand some, but I'm back to back on this podcast. So one, so pumped that you're here, but also it's like, I woke up at 4 a.m. my time to prep to get you on this. I've had 30 recordings in the last 20 days. So I guess my point is I'm not like begging people to come on the show. And yesterday I saw a girl who did, she creates events in the business space, like destination retreats. If you were going to do like a mastermind, that's actually a very hard skill set. And it's something that I've wanted to do in the future, is bring a community of business leaders together and like go to Mexico or go to Barcelona and have a little retreat. And I invited her. I said, hey, would you like to come on the podcast and talk about event planning? And her response was, oh, I don't have enough time to put that on my plate. And again, I wished her the best. I said, no worries, wishing you the best. But it breaks my heart because I know that if you truly wanted Fortune 500 or business owners of $40 million companies to do even just their sales kickoff, and like you did this as a fractional business, you need to get that. I don't know if you remember what Daniel Priestley said. Maybe you have your own version of it. You need to get that 11 hours of you on the internet, so that when they search Beatrice, that they get to spend an hour with her thinking about the way she thinks, and they build that parasocial relationship. You become that key person of influence. And I've bumped into a few of those sometimes. One guy, owner of a SaaS company, he'd be your ICP. He just straight up said, podcasts don't lead to conversions for me, so I stopped doing them. And then I was like, all right, well, it's not exactly, it's not, the reason I pitch the podcast to owners is it indexes on Google and LinkedIn. Because it indexes on Google, it's going to index in the AI searches. It's your name. When people search your name, it's going to rank well. It's keyword rich. And so yours will say like LinkedIn Ghostwriter and content marketer and expert and so. And it lives there forever. And I've even had tiny little videos about spreadsheets that 6 months later, a year later, they just start getting hundreds or thousands of views and people ask questions on it. I've got a little video about a cigar company in the US, just a little vertical. I did that thing 2 years ago. To this day, it's a $37 purchase for a sample pack. To this day, people message me on YouTube, oh, wow, is it really worth it? Or how do I start it? So like one Holtz, you guys should pay me some money, man, because I'm sending that business there. But two, it's this long-term power that positions you as the key person of influence. And I don't know why. Sometimes it seems like I have to beg business owners to get on video. So I don't know. I went on a little rant there, but what's your position then on helping these people to become that key person of influence? And how do you even walk them through that Daniel Priestley model, like if it's part of your framework?
Yeah, it's like, well, what you just said, it makes a lot of sense. Of, when you're on a podcast, you start building that visibility, that influence. So it's a no-brainer. I see it that way for anyone that wants to be more known, more trusted, more liked, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, but everyone,
100%.
right?
You do. They do. They don't want to admit it, but they do.
Exactly. And I'm running into the same thing with, with some of the founders I talk to, which they don't really understand, like, why is that important? But it's from the same reasons, like you mentioned with the podcast as well. And another thing with the podcast is that this is long form content. People get to spend time with you. They get to understand the depth of your mind. They get to see your personality, to connect with you, and it's so valuable. I 100% recommend being on podcasts. Speaking events as well. Any opportunity you have, especially when you're in the beginning. It's so important to be seen and to be in all these places. Of course, use your judgment to see which are the places that are relevant to your goals.
That's fair. But still, even then, I know some people that you could say in the influencer space are wildly successful, hundreds of thousands of followers, millions, and they will still candidly say, I don't say no to any podcast. Unless you are saying derogatory, slanderous things and you're on like a hard charging political, like really aggressive channel, it's really hard to go wrong, like just share your thoughts on it. I think, so maybe how do you start? We've really presented the why, and I think I agree that long form is wonderful. I understand some people are nervous. That's one interesting thing I've discovered. I've met some influencers that are running a personal brand on LinkedIn, and I could not pin them down to like more than a 30-minute conversation. And again, I'm not judging anyone, and this is just an assumption, but like when MJ Jandal who's done $700 million of business and is the GM of Stanley of Business, can come on and talk about this for an hour and 20 minutes. And when Nicolette Joxa, who has hundreds of thousands of followers and is one of the most popular on LinkedIn now, can come in and talk about this for an hour and 30 minutes, and you can't find a way to speak 30 minutes about it, it also shows me that you haven't developed you're not comfortable in your own body of work, right? That one's very interesting to me. So I cherish long form because you really get to see if someone's faking it, like if they're just taking well-performing posts and then making them their own, or if they can really think through this. So so that's been one test for me now. I've enjoyed it about the podcast because I just invite people. I don't even lead them. It's like, hey, would you like to do a podcast about whatever? But now, secondly, my point is the personal on these founders. How do you tell them to start? Because I understand that not everyone's ready to bite off like an hour and 30 minutes. If you are an expert and you are an operator, that really shouldn't be a problem. But if it's your first time on camera or your first time being vulnerable on post, I do think there is kind of a warm-up curve. So what's maybe an onboarding for you for one of these new founders? How do you make them feel comfortable? And then how do you work them into this? Like, how do you get them started?
You mean in the process when I work with them to build a personal brand, right? Yeah. So it all starts with something like this, with an interview, where we just get comfortable and, I have a set of questions. They're not like set in stone. but they help me understand their voice, getting them to speak about, their why are they doing the business they're doing, challenges, mistakes, vision, all these things, the juicy things that they are so valuable for their personal brand, because that right there helps me build their positioning, their messaging, optimizing their profile, the content strategy, everything. So that interview is essentially gold, and it's always the first step of the process.
What do you think? I actually think people struggle with positioning. Even me,
Totally.
I did this for $700 million companies, this discipline called revenue operations. And I noticed that even when I talked to a $20 million company, if I told them I did this for $700 million companies, they would look at me and say, well, why are you talking to us? Like it was almost like it was hurting me because I wanted that job. I was laid off from the larger tech firm, so I was moving down market. And so my point is my positioning was wrong, and it took me a while to like find the right language. So I think founders know what they do. I know what I do. What I do is quote to cash and like very boring revenue system integration. But nobody knows what quote to cash is. If I told you, Beatrice, you're running a quote to cash business because you are, you'd look at it, it'd be lost on you. Like, that sounds boring. I don't get it. It's not the languages. But if I told you, Beatrice, you're trying to generate demand and get leads so that you can send them offers and negotiate that price and then close the deal and then send them some kind of invoice, you're like, oh yeah, that's my business. It's different, right? So that's quote to cash in a nutshell. And every business does it, whether you're 1 million or 700 million. So how do you guide them through, or maybe like, do you find people that are lost in their positioning? Like they just ramble on and don't have a clear idea of what they actually do?
Oh, yes. I mean, all the time. It's not that founders or the clients I work with, they don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to explain what they're doing in a way that it lands with their audience. Like you gave me the first example, and you're like, oh, you'll be lost. But then you use the words that are familiar to me, and I'm going to get it, right? So the words you use, the way you use them, right? Speaking your audience language, it's so important. And also positioning yourself not with all the things you do, because we're all multidimensional beings, and like you run a podcast, you have a business, you do a lot of things, right? But
that's so
focusing on the one thing that you want to be known for. And this is a core of a good positioning, right? What am I doing? Who am I doing it for? What do I want to be known for? And so
do you know some of your maybe those were the questions on your onboarding? You don't have to like break it out, but do you know a couple of the first questions that you ask off the top of your head? Like, I'd like you to try them on me. I just want to hear like what those 2 or 3 are. And if it's too much, we could try a different angle on that. But do you know some of the questions?
Yes, of course. I have the back of my head.
So, and the reason I'm asking this is because I do too many things, and I don't actually. I've gotten better where I'm like, okay, I do the podcast because I really love the conversations, and I know that the podcast has what I call, it's got 2 downstream revenue streams. One is sponsorship from things like these tech channels like HubSpot, Go High Level, Salesforce. That's obvious. The second one is, as I've met more creators like you, there are affiliate offers that come from it, or it's like, hey, if you want to do 14 days free with Beatrice, click the link below. So a lot of people run affiliate programs. So those 2 make sense. And I guess my point is, I do the show because I like the show and I know it's going to make money on its own. That's not my business. So my business is the consulting side and actually implementing the tech stack. So even in that one, like forgetting about the podcast, there's too many things. And I'm finding that I need to talk about one thing, and it's hard to pick that one thing. It's like, do you do CRM? Do you do lead generation? Do you do system integration? Do you do landing pages? Do you build click funnels? All those things are yeses. So how do you help that founder say, here's what we're going to lead with, and then like you can talk about the rest of it some other way?
Yeah. So I normally, it's not at the back of one question, right? I normally have this full 90 minutes or sometimes more interview, and then I understand, and I distill all the information, and I strategize it. So that's the thing when you work with the premium ghostwriter, you're not paying someone to just write what you're saying and post it in your behalf. You're paying someone to think with you, to get clarity with you, to strategize with you. And so to answer your question, it's really identifying what is that problem that is common in all these little bits that you are helping your clients with, right? How can we call that problem? What would be a way that will resonate with them, And so finding these things like bit by bit and going through these sessions is what is really valuable. Because if you would just pay a writer to transcribe what you are saying, you might as well use AI for that, right? And it's not valuable.
100%.
But when you work with a ghostwriter, it's more about the thinking behind it and the strategy rather than the content. That's the end of it, of the process. But it's so much more before that.
Do you I was just thinking about the ghostwriter. So I pay on the content side on the podcast, I pay someone to do my thumbnails. I'm way behind on the little vertical clips, so I'm looking for clippers to pay people to do the short form videos. I'm going to pay someone to manage my LinkedIn, and I've met several of you guys that I love now, and I'm a huge, like Nikki and I have been talking a lot. I'd love to payroll that. The other day I was thinking about this concept of like, if someone said, "What do you mean you pay a ghostwriter? They write for you?" It also occurred to me, really what I'm paying for is a copywriter or a marketing copywriter. You've just kind of niched down in the LinkedIn space. Is there any reason? Do you see a difference between like copywriter and ghostwriter? Is there a distinction there? And one reason that you call yourself a ghostwriter over just like, I'm really good at writing copy, because that is a skill also.
Yeah, I love this question. So
good.
Let's talk about positioning again, right? Like we're like gonna join the dots here. If I tell you to think about a freelance writer or a freelance copywriter, what's the image you have in your mind? Like, what's the first thing that comes up?
Creating marketing ads, De Beers, diamonds, like magazines.
Yeah, probably someone that works from a cafe, maybe someone that just does this as a side thing, as a side job. Maybe someone that's a student and they're doing this alongside university, someone from Fiverr, someone from Upwork, right? So that position,
don't be Fiverr.
It started getting diluted, right? Because, well, do you want to hand your reputation to someone that does ads and emails and landing pages and LinkedIn sometimes? Perhaps not, because it's something that is valuable, right? It's how you were seen out there in the world by other people, by your clients, by your, stakeholders, investors, whatever, your mom, right? It's important.
Oh, you're selling me already. Look, that's good. You got it. You know what you said was the key word, and maybe you already know this because it's your profession. You said, do you want to trust your reputation to someone that writes emails? And I was like, no, no way. Like, wow. Okay. So what else? So that's
the freelance writer, right? Like you're asking. So let's look at the other side of the, of the situation here, which is a premium ghostwriter, which is what I like to call myself too, where we are doing one thing, and I say we because I'm running an agency. It's not just me here. We have people that do the visuals. We have people that, designers in-house, editors, account managers, like everything, right? But when we're focusing on the writing, which is something that it always goes through my hands, through my mind, through my brain. This is the difference, because we only specialize on one thing and one thing only, which is LinkedIn. So it's the same like you would go to a doctor, would you want to have a surgery from a GP or from a specialized neurosurgeon, right? That knows how to operate on brains, right? It's the exact same analogy here. And so, yes, when you pay for a premium service, it is premium for a reason, because it's not just the writing part, it's everything that comes with it.
Let's unpack that some so we were explaining positioning, right? But then there's something, and maybe this is the same, but there's something within positioning where you need to distinguish yourself or elevate yourself away from the competitors. And I'll give you two examples. on LinkedIn ghostwriting, that was new to me, right? And I was fortunate. I met some very talented people that do it, including you. So I would say that there's like a grade A, like or an A lineup is the colloquial term in English. And then there's like some B players and C players. Do you understand what I'm saying there?
Mm-hmm.
The B. Okay, now
Sure.
the C players really started now they're everywhere where I look, and I'm like, oh wow, it feels to me like there's thousands of them, and I already tell that the quality's lower. So my point is not to defend your quality versus theirs, but my point is there's noise in the space in LinkedIn ghostwriting, and then now what I do has a component of AI and what you call CRM. So on your agency, do you guys manage your prospects in any sort of software? Like these are prospective leads or prospective deals?
Yes, totally. We do have a CRM.
Okay, great. So I run CRMs. Do you know which CRM you're using?
Yes, we're using Fold now because it's directly connected with LinkedIn.
Good. What's it called?
Folk.
Spell it?
Folk.
That's cool. Yeah, like folk people. I'm gonna look that up. All right. So I made a lot of money in Salesforce as a CRM. Again, that was enterprise. And then in mid-market, I was like, there's something to HubSpot. And then I was like, I really don't like working with those people. And then I got into Go High Level, which is another CRM. It's I wouldn't push you on that over folk. It's very interesting that it's niche. But now what I'm finding is
I'm familiar with all the ones you named,
yes.
By the way. I used Go High Level before as well.
It's super powerful. All right, I guess that's what I was getting at. I love it. I became a fanboy. I didn't think I'd become a fanboy, but it can literally do everything from your website to all your workflow automations, and the AI chatbots are already in there.
You can have a course as well in there, yeah.
So good. I was like, I didn't think anybody could do that, but they did it, and it's a lot of money and good for them. But now my point is, I'm in these other little groups as I identify with Go High Level, all these people worldwide, they're like thirsty and throwing their chip in there. I can help you. I'm in your DMs and whatever. So it's like this weird icky feeling where it's like, I already knew my value. When you talk to me as a business owner, we're trying to grow your business from one number to another million, from 1 million to 2 million, from 6 million to 12 million. I actually do business growth. As a part of business growth or revenue operations, I'll use a CRM and automations. What I'm struggling with, which I see the parallel, is now there's so many Go High Level people, and then there's so many LinkedIn ghostwriters. How do you elevate the brand positioning to be like, yes, they're there, but it's not this? Do you defend it, or do you just be premium and that solves that problem? Do you know what I mean? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. And it's something that I'm noticing as well. And, there are a lot of great people there, what they're doing, but it's a lot of noise as well, because unfortunately, nowadays on LinkedIn, you can just change your title and put founder, 100%. Right?
100%. And I'm a co-founder now. Did you know that? I didn't want to do it for the longest time. And then I told my partner, I'm like, F it. I got fired and I started my own thing. Here you go.
Exactly, and I don't know if that should be legal, to be honest, because
that's
everyone,
so funny.
It's a CEO, everyone is a founder, right?
That's right.
And then so it's so much noise out there, and so much these words meant something before, right? It was the authority you have as a founder, as an owner of a business, right? But nowadays you can just invoice through your Revolut or whatever, and then put a name on a Canva document, and that's it. That's your logo, and you're a founder, right? So I think it's very important to be careful who you're working with, because at the end of the day, if you're paying $200 for a month worth of posts, then you should start questioning what is what's the value that you're going to get, what's the quality, right? Yeah. And so I always say the proof is in the pudding, as if you have this saying in the US as well.
Yeah, right? It's the same one, yeah.
Yeah, show, don't tell. And so when you look at someone that you're potentially thinking, I always tell clients that we're like, oh, I'm looking for options. I'm like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, well, let me help you and save you time. And these are some questions you should ask them. Ask them, how your conversions can improve. Ask them about your positioning. Ask them how they've done this for people like you before. If you can see a testimonial, if you can see a case study, right? And also look at the person. Like if they have 20,000 followers and 2 likes, per post, maybe start worrying, if their content sounds like AI generated and all the pictures are as well AI generated, maybe start worrying, right? So look at the profile of the person you want to hire to help you and think if you like their profile, if you want something like that for yourself, if you see them as a model, right? Because if you don't, why are you paying?
I have so much to unpack there. So first off, what I want to say is I wish, so LinkedIn they can verify like your domain name, right? But when I grew up in the corporate side, those titles did mean something, and I hate to sound disparagingly, but if you're a 19-year-old that just moved out of your mom's house and you started a company online, you're not the VP of sales. And maybe you could say by title you are, but like there was also an implied experience around this. That's just not you. And I remember in Lower Manhattan in New York City, I used to work down there for the military. I'd walk into bars every once in a while and I'd just meet, and I was young back then. I was 25, I think. I'd meet kids that were 21 and they'd hand me a business card and it would say like CTO or COO of some made up name. And I'm like, no, man, like you don't be that, like be something more congruent is the word. I don't want to say if you feel like you're authentically the head lead of whatever, fine, but it's not congruent and people don't trust that. Have something that's congruent. So, but anyway, I wanted to go back to you said show it. How did you say it? You said show proof. Do you remember how you said it? About it or something?
Well, I said the proof is in the pudding, and then I said show, don't tell.
Show, don't tell.
Yeah.
This is big for me. So and maybe you can unpack this some, but I think that's the magic or the secret sauce in doing content marketing well. You have to show like some kind of proof more than tell. But you also have to do it in a way that creates an enjoyable experience for the audience, or you won't build an audience. So that demo that the client sent me from the competitor, I did go back to him and I said, hey, I'm going to call him John. I was like, hey, John, I need you to notice that he didn't demo that with any data. He didn't pull, like I pulled 2 years of your orders and invoices in there so you could see a real dashboard. He demoed an out-of-the-box go high level. There's no data there. You can't prove anything without real client. You can't just show a screenshot of workflows and say, look at this workflow I built. You didn't see the piece of data go from one end to the other. None of that's a real test. And he wants to he has been charging him $1,000 a month. So, I just started unpacking that, gave him the real questions to ask. Also, I want you to understand that he's doing this in an agency model, which means he gets an affiliate payment from Go High Level. He's incentivized to try to keep you in this. It might not be the right software. Anyway, one thing I've noticed on the influencers that are positioning themselves as professionals, and again, I don't mean this disparagingly, so I'm going to try to say it very carefully. There are some people who look good on camera, guy or girl. Typically it's girl. And they can generate a lot of attention, a lot of likes on a photo. And it's an unrelated photo to the business content. So maybe they're in a gym, or maybe they're I see a lot of elevator selfies now lately. For whatever reason, elevator selfies perform well. And they're trying to present to a client that like, you can get this attention too. In my first rebuttal, if I'm talking to guys that look like me, that are like middle-aged white guys, the first thing is, no, you can't. You have to have something valuable to say. You have to have some experience or some proof of business. And unfortunately, I see this. I see them then try to take the same selfie in an elevator, and I want to like smack my forehead, like stop taking selfies of yourself in the elevator. That might have worked for her. That's not going to work for you. So, do you understand what I'm saying there? I'm trying not to be rude about it, but like there's a surface level attention grabbing. But then if you run a business, you have to show proof of things if you want to be credible. So how do you separate that noise too? Like that 1 million views was not 20 people asking you for a quote and generating real business.
Yeah. Well, first of all, like what you said there it makes a lot of sense. I tell people that too. Just because I'm posting a lot of selfies, that's my personal brand. This is how I wanted to do it from day one. And I just posted an elevator selfie today, as a matter of fact.
There's I want to be super clear. I'm sorry, I was not calling you out. There's nothing wrong with it. You should work to your strengths. I think the quiet part out loud, you, Beatrice, can put a selfie in an elevator, and then you can share your message and people will read it. Random generic white guy that looks like every other thing, you can't put a selfie in the mirror. It won't have the same effect. That's all I'm saying. Play to your strengths. I have a strong smile. I'm a good communicator. I have lots of technical proof. I know my I have a smoking hot wife. Like I'll post pictures of me and my wife. I understand what gets attention. Just don't fall into the trap of thinking that like because you saw Beatrice do it, you'll look good on the beach too. I got to stop there. Does that am I being rude about it? Am I being mean about it?
No. Like, I mean, there are some, like boundaries like people have for their brands. Like I have mine too. I would never post a picture from the beach, for example, right?
Yeah.
But what you said there, like, for example, you're very charismatic and you're really good on camera, right? So if I were you, I would do more videos. I would just post
100%.
like videos almost every day, right? Why not? Exactly. And it's so important to find that unfair advantage that you have, whatever that is. Maybe it's that you're good looking. What's wrong in that, right? Maybe it's that you're really good at talking
Thank
to
you.
people.
I'm sorry I'm cutting you off. I just want to thank you for saying that. Maybe you're good looking, and there's nothing wring with that. It's like if you're Brad Pitt, if you're George Clooney, get it, man. Mario Lopez. Do you know Mario Lopez in the U.S.?
I heard. Yes. I find like yes, I know who you're talking about.
I follow his content and I love it, man. I'm like, he's got the dimples, he's got a great smile. He's 50-something now. He still looks amazing, shirtless. He's got a six-pack in his 50s. Do it, man. But most of you guys are not Mario Lopez. Like, let's be real.
Exactly. Oh, just how I tell people also, you are also not Justin Welch. And if you're gonna, you're gonna sell like a course that is like $10 and you're gonna expect to become a millionaire in 2 years.
So good.
You don't have the same audience as Justin Welch, right? And if that works for him, doesn't mean it's gonna work for you. So find what works for you. And just to answer your question, like I get this a lot, like, oh, it's gonna work for me because I'm not you. I don't want to take the selfies. And like the truth is you don't have to. So we always work with clients the way that they feel comfortable and also what matches, their personality. Like if they're a super fun person, very open, like, traveling the world, then it's going to be a lot of lifestyle pictures because they want that, they're comfortable with it, and it's part of who they are and their personality.
Okay,
right?
Let me say this for the dudes out there. And again, I'm borderline about to get canceled. Are there any guy influencers that you really like on LinkedIn? Names that you know?
Oh, yes, a lot. Like,
let me pull one up because I think it'll prove my point. What's one of the names? Like a big one.
Well, my friends, like I love their content. Charlie Hills, Jeremy Gordon.
Hang on, let's try Charlie Hill. Charlie Hills with the flamingo. Bam.
Yes.
Okay. What I want guys to understand is that, because you said it, you still have to do. You can do lifestyle content, but if you're a guy, you have to show access to scarce resources. And so that means locations, people that you're in the room with, you on stage. So this is good for women too, but I'm just saying if you're a guy, it has to be authority shots. And that will get the same attention as like attractive girl level. Charlie Hills actually does high technical, I'm looking at his content now, beautiful high technical graphics that are infographics. So that, again, that's showing it's scarce resources because it's demonstrating deep expertise in something and a command over the technology to present it. The guy that I'm thinking of, I always forget his name. He's a sales coach. He's very big on LinkedIn. He's a redhead, but he'll do he'll show a picture of him in one of those gliders that they drag behind planes. Then he'll show pictures of him. Or Daniel Priestley, beautiful example. If you pay attention to Daniel Priestley's photos, it's never a selfie in an elevator, even though he's an okay-looking guy. It is him on a whiteboard, and 7 people are looking at him, right? That's an authority shot. This is just cinematography now. I'm not trying to speak in your lane, but like people are looking at him. That's an authority shot. He'll be shaking hands with someone important. He will be on a big stage where lots of people are looking at him. He will be holding a stack of his books, right? So in every photo that his team picks for him, he's demonstrating access to scarce resources. The only reason I go on that tangent is because I want these business owners or founders to understand that you already have the scarce resources. If you go in your conference room and 3 people are looking at you, scarce resources. So like, I've just seen some of these CFOs leave that office and that environment and then take a selfie on the street. And I'm just like, my face wants to melt. Like, just be in your environment where you're the leader and demonstrate that. So anyway, that was
Exactly.
it. That's my
And
tip for the dudes
that's
out
part, no, it's a good tip, and that's part of your authenticity as well. Like, I have a client that he's the CEO of an 9-figure company, and
there.
you know, we use a lot of personal photos, but it's him on stage talking, you know, delivering a keynote talk or on a podcast, or you know, sometimes it may be something more personal, like a family picture, but that's because he
That's
feels
good.
comfortable with that, you know, or with the theme or whatever it is. But that's because it's authentic, and that is way more important. Like, I'm someone that I just enjoy, you know, having a photo shoot every now and then and not having to think about it for a long time. But I get it
Yeah.
that a lot of people are not comfortable with that. And we had clients that they're, I don't know, like not in their 20s anymore, right? And so we used the pictures that they were comfortable with, that they felt, you know, it's appropriate, it's authentic, and we'll never push someone to, you know, to do a photo shoot or like selfies in the mirror, because
That's
not
so
who they are.
fair, and that's such a gentle way that you put that. I actually use an example on this show a lot. There's a woman that I respect who's a very accomplished CFO, and she runs a PE company now worth about $120 million. And when that company sells, she'll make a lot of money on it. And she's in her 50s now, but she still looks beautiful in her authentic presentation. And I've used her as a case study where you can still be a personal brand, because she's a high performing professional in that she gets a lot done on the technical software side and the CFO side. But also there's a way where you can see her in the coffee shop, or you can see her talking to her team. And I just think maybe I can't speak for the women out there, but I think some of them don't understand that you don't have to compete with like everything you see on Instagram. You can just be you, and like there's an admiration there also. Yeah, and that's very vulnerable, I think, for that demographic, for them to say, oh, okay, I'll put these photos out there on LinkedIn.
Yeah, and let's never forget that, like, it's not what we're building here and what most founders and clients want. It's thought leadership. And thought leadership has nothing to do with, you know, your face everywhere. I always recommend, like, yes, add a personal photo when you are telling a story about your past, about yourself, just because it helps people connect, you know, put a name on the face and a face on a name and all of that.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, thought leadership means your thoughts. And so it's perfectly fine not to have a photo at all if you don't want to have one, you know, rather than putting a
I don't trust no photo, but I see what you're saying.
It's sometimes better than just posting a photo for the sake of having a photo.
I guess that's fair. What I don't like is when there was this thing in the US called glamour shots, and they were back in the 1980s or 90s, and you would go into like a studio location, they'd have a very cheap background behind you, they'd take some headshots. So I don't like when I see someone that's got like clearly a 20-year-old photo, and I see this for both men and women, where it's like it was in their heyday in the 80s or 90s, and they're still using that as the profile picture. It's like, you might as well just... In fact, I had to catch myself. For a long time, I had a picture from Ciudad de Mexico in one of those... Anyway, it was old. It got old. I was like, at some point I had to wake up and be like, oh, wow, that's 8 years old. And so I went and got headshots done again with one of the girls from my church. And I was like, okay, I need to recognize that I got some bags under my eyes now. The hairline's gone back a little bit. You know, it's like I look like I'm 40. I'm a 43-year-old, so I want the photos to represent that. Maybe in a rapid fire, because we've talked about kind of like some ways to do the imaging wrong. what are some like big no-nos? Like, please, if you could tell a founder, don't do this, like, don't start this way. What are some big don't do's on LinkedIn for you?
Oh God, where do I start? Well, first one, don't outsource your mind to AI. Like, don't think that you can just go on ChatGPT and say, write me a LinkedIn post, and that's gonna bring you to the rooms you want to be in. Like, ChatGPT can produce for you, meaning that anything can be produced is gonna be lower in value, right? But if it's something that cannot do for you, it's building relationships for you, building trust, consolidating your reputation, getting people to like you, to trust you, to want to be your friend, to want to be around you, right? So you can't do that. If that's your plan, just know from now that's gonna fail, right?
I think people try it and they're like, oh, that sounds really clever. And because they're behind the learning curve, they don't realize that, like, you and I, who have seen so much of it now, we just instantly spot it. And I use it a lot on the tech side. I don't use it for writing anymore whatsoever. I just go completely opposite now. And maybe that's not a good approach either, but I would much rather have a badly formed sentence from my head than anything AI at this point in time in the wave.
Yes. And the other thing is, like, you can use AI. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a tool, right? And it's there to help you save time. Absolutely. But AI, it's always the editor, it's not the storyteller, right? You cannot just expect it that's gonna know all these things about you and understand and distill, right? And is doing this with everyone else, right? So it's gonna be a similarity there, and you're just gonna sound like everyone else, like the AI slop. And when you run a 7-8 figure, a business, is this how you want to be seen publicly? Really? Probably
that's
not,
so good.
right?
Do you have key tips on, like, I love that you said story, because some people stare at a blank post screen and they just think content, words, and lines, and they don't understand that there's a power to the story. And I also have found, you're right, what I will do with AI is I'll put a screenshot of what I wrote and I'll say, can you point out any, I'm really bad at typos. I'll say, can you point out any typos, that, because I just don't see them. Like, for some reason, I'll read in my head what I think it says, and then, like, I'll not see that it's missing an R. I do that for editing. But what is the story? Do you have a framework around that, or do you define it as something different than someone just saying, here's a picture of my coffee?
Yes, for sure. Well, let's understand the difference between just telling a random story and using storytelling, because it's not the same thing, right? So the very first thing is that your story has to have something valuable for your audience, right? It's maybe a transformation you had in your life. It can be, I don't know, a mistake you made, a lesson you've learned, something you would have done differently. Whatever that is, something that happened to you, and that you have a takeaway from there, and you can pass it to your audience. So it's so important that story has a point, because a lot of stories I'm reading on LinkedIn have no point. You finish reading, you're like, so what, right?
Yeah, I'm guilty.
It's not just a description, and it has context as well.
Oh, remember, that's so good.
Your audience doesn't know everything about you.
Yeah, a story's not just a description. That's so good. Okay. And it's got a point. Do you have, maybe, I know this is asking a complicated question and asking for too simple of an answer, but from the talented copywriter perspective, do you have like a quick little, like, a story is these 3 things?
Yes. So as I said, as a story is a plus added value for anyone in the room. A story also should back, to your business, or if you're not a business owner, to the present. So, for example, I'll give you an example because that's much easier. So, at 19, I left the country, and little did I know that I'm going to become a business owner. This happened, right? And then this is what helped me now run my business and do X, Y, Z. So I always come back to it. And why? Because this helps the story stay on brand, And when it stays on brand, also these associations that really is what we call brand are made in the audience mind, right? So if you want to be known as the, RevOps guy, like you should have that in all your content, like sprinkled, in your stories.
That's so fair.
Your how-to posts everywhere, right? So you take that positioning and you cement it in your audience mind. So it's not like today you're talking about cooking and tomorrow you're talking about
100%.
RevOps, and the day after you talk about, I don't know, something different, yoga, right? So you want to have that consistency in your stories as well. So a story will always have a point, will have context, and if it's not a story about you, it can be a story about someone else. But again, always back it, back it to what you do today, and that's it. If you do that, you're already better than 90% of people.
So I mean, one, I 100% agree. Also, I'm looking for my own like personal anchor on the brand, and so I travel with that little RevOps neon. So I do try to make it clear that it's like I'm RevOps,
I love that.
it's I'm in a hotel, and it's because I do most of my recordings in conference rooms, and I feel like, I know that's weird to say, but that's kind of on brand for me. Like I like being in these conference rooms. I like being in the co-work spaces. My family and I want to travel a ton, so I got really good at setting up in hotels. I don't love the lighting in this Hampton, but here we are. But I remember doing one in Florida. My little kids were running around. My wife was over there, and it's like, we're going to film a video. Anyway, Daniel Priestley also has some really good things to say about stories, so I would bring the audience back to that too. All right, so what else on a couple of the no's, and then I'd love it if you could impart like a few, like, please do these 3 things, like if you just could take anything away from the knowledge and experience that I, Beatrice, have, do at least these 3 things. So what's the rest of the no's, and then what do you really tell people you've got to do?
Okay, before we do that, can I leave the audience with a framework as well for their content?
100%.
Cool.
All
it's not
day.
necessarily for storytelling, but it's something useful to apply when you build your personal brand.
Yeah.
So the framework is trust,
Okay.
and I'm gonna explain what each of the letters they stand for, because it's an acronym. So trust is
Very
for
cool.
take position.
Okay.
Hang
on, I'm writing it down. Trust.
Please do. Okay, trust.
Yeah.
So T, it's for take position, and
take a position.
This comes back to your positioning. Yes, correct. So be known for that one thing and identify that first before anything.
I love that.
Then R is for reach. And here we're talking about distribution, getting in front of the right people consistently, understanding your cadence here. So not posting once a year or once a month, right? Being consistent. You, it's unmistakably you.
Go ahead. I'm typing.
It's your personality, what helps your audience recognize you. And it's related to likability as well.
Okay.
And then S stands for serve. So
that's
as
good.
I said, with your content, you always
be valuable.
Want to deliver value, exactly, to solve a problem, to be useful for your audience. So this has to do with trust building, with that element from your brand. So give the value before you ask for anything. And this is how you earn that belief from your audience. And then finally, T stands for time, and that's about compounding. So in time, your brand becomes an evergreen library of content, and also a compounding asset that helps you grow and your business as well.
That T, so good. This channel, this YouTube channel is still relatively small, but I will get hundreds of hours of watch time per month. I track it on a 30-day like that. And I think I know Gary Vee is kind of, maybe he's not the first one to say this, but some people will complain, oh, only 66 people watched this video, right? Well, a lot of you have never even been in a room where 66 people were like sitting around you. And I want
Exactly.
founders to think about that. That's 66 people that spent time with your message. And maybe you work in the central time zone of the US from 9 to 5, and they were in Croatia or Barcelona, and they're watching at 2 a.m. your time. They still spent an hour with you, and they were in that room. And when you total up the hours, for me, 100 hours is kind of low, but I know creators that have years of watch time per month, and that compounds all of the amount of advertising you could ever do.
Exactly.
I love that framework. And also, I'm your target demographic. So let me read the high level of what I took from you. So take position, be known for that one thing. I love that. Reach, get in front of the right people. What I take away from that too is I have to be careful as I've leaned into my content. There are things that I like to write, but then I have to ask myself, is that getting in front of the right audience? And if that answer is no, then maybe you chose the wrong audience, or maybe you need to pivot on your content. So I try to be real clear. Am I getting the right people to engage with that? And then unmistakably you is something I love so much. You said it's your personality, but I look at that as like, again, I'm a very fortunate guy in life, so I'm never complaining, but I do have to acknowledge that I'm like someone has criticized me once and be like, oh, you look like a mega church leader, which in the U.S. colloquial terms is like saying you look generic or bland, like some just regular white guy in a polo. And so I really have to spend time to say, what is it that makes me unmistakably me? And to be honest with you, I haven't found it yet. Like, this is the first day I've ever done a podcast without a collared shirt. I have to lean in all kinds of stuff. Like, what is it that makes me different or unique and stand out? And I'm still trying to find that. I love Serve because I feel like while you could be making money, you're not really in a business unless you're serving a market. And so you should remember that the content should be valuable and useful. And then that time compounding is just an ancillary benefit. That's good. That's awesome.
And another thing about personal brands, like I don't think people really understand the power of a personal brand. So like to give you like a quick example, as I said before, it's all about signals, just like you do with long form as well, right? On YouTube, in your podcasts. And really, when you create your strategy, so like when I work with a client and I create their content strategy, I don't start with the content. I start with their goals. I understand where they want to be in 6 months and 12 months. And then I start asking, okay, for them to get there, what does need to be true? Who does this thing needs to be true for, right? For what kind of person, what type of person? And then from there, I look at the signals that will signal this kind of trust, this kind of authority to the right people. And then I incorporate that in the content. So it's kind of like reverse engineering the process.
Is there, I understand what you're saying. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to see if we can is there one specific example you can think of? I sort of get it and I could probably make ways up, but like, what's an example of where they want to be somewhere, they need to generate a certain type of trust, so here's how they're going to signal it in this next post?
Yeah, I was just about to give an example, and I'll give you an example with me that literally just happened to me. So I've decided that one of my goals is to be on stage more this year and to be in front of more people and, be a speaker. And I didn't really want to go the route where I'm like reaching out to all these events, finding them. And so I was like, okay, how can I use this to get inbound speaking opportunities? And I started talking more about, using the signals, talking more about when I was on stage, started posting more pictures from, events that I already spoke at. Just using these little signals. So, the organizers of these events see that and associate me as a speaker, as someone that they can work with to, to build their mastermind or event or whatever they have. And it took a month. It literally took 30 days.
Wow.
And now I'm having this event in Budapest where I'm going to be speaking at.
Good for you.
It literally all came from content.
That's so good.
This is what I mean. Like, it's just like, using the signals. Same comes with like brand partnerships as well. Like, I just put on, kind of my vision board, these brands that I want to work
Yeah.
with. And I started speaking the language that they're looking for, and also putting all these trust signals in my content. So I'm being seen by the right people, and the inquiries come. So your brand is essentially like, it's creating that leverage, but you can take it to any direction you have based on your goals. And that can change from 3 months to 3 months, 6 months to 6 months, and so on.
No, but that's good. Oh, congrats on the speaking engagement. Really big note on I do think about the brand sponsorships a lot. And so I don't believe that I don't believe I'll compromise things I say or talk about to get the deal. Now that's hard to say, like $23 million is $23 million. But I already did get one sponsorship offer, and I looked at it. I'm like, that's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. There's no way I'm running an ad for that. So it's making me think.
And it's so good to say no, because that protects your brand. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
if you say yes to everything, it's not going the right direction.
I totally agree. I mean, you become Eddie Murphy in the U.S. or some of these actors that just never said no. It's like, oh, now the movies they're wrecked. Liam Neeson, that's a good one. Everyone knows in Europe. It's like, Liam, you should have said no to a couple of these. But I'm trying to think, because I do have a vision board that I need to put on an actual board, but my wife and I have done these before. I have one for the show where it's like I have certain brand sponsorships in mind. But what you said is really it's key, is to like reverse engineer into it. What are the things they talk about? What's in their brand positioning? How do you make sure someone that looks like you would be on one of their stages? I'm going to spend some time on that one. That's a good one, actually.
Good,
and
yes.
I'd also love to get on speaking stages. So I need to, and I've known this. I've been so busy with the clients and with the show, and also I'm on Air Force orders right now. But I know I can host training, and people will let me do those for free. And I've just been meaning to get a few of those so I can get the content, of me on stage doing the training. And then I really want to put that out there also, where I want to rock and roll on some of your sales kickoffs or coming to do your speaking engagements. What else? If there's like, what's the most important thing you could tell an audience member? Like, if you only pick up this one thing for me, you've said so many good things, but like, if you've only got a minute or so to tell a founder that's in your target demographic, care about this, don't do this, do that, how would you put that for them in like a really tight package?
Well, we already talked about that why you should build a personal brand, why anyone should build one. And there are founders out there that they want to build themselves. And I think an important mention here, and this comes from someone that used to advise and coach people on this before, it can be a full-time job.
Yes.
So to do it properly,
I can't wait to hire it out. I'm just gonna be honest with every founder out there. I feel like I could figure this out and crack this nut, but also I want someone else. I want a team member full-time only on LinkedIn. I'll say that for them.
Exactly. It can be a really big time commitment. As I said, done properly. So we're talking about engagement. We're talking about, strategy, visuals, everything you have to do. And as a founder, you're already having so much on your plate when you run your business. And so if you are, engaging in this and you're like, okay, I'm going to commit to this because it's a priority, because I know it's going to help my business grow, then put that time aside and expect, hours, not, half an hour here and there, but like 5-6 hours a week, sometimes more on building this, especially in the beginning.
Yeah.
Otherwise, just like get someone, trained for this with the skills, and there is nothing wrong with that. I'm actually writing an article on, the myth of ghostwriting.
Oh, cool.
So it's a lot of a lot to demystify there in terms of being authentic, unethical, all these things. But if we look, back in time, it's like literally everyone from the Apostle Paul to I don't know, Cicero, right?
No, the major prophets, people don't realize that in a Judeo-Christian context, like if you're reading Isaiah didn't write that stuff, that they were, it's what do you call it? It's not collated. It's it's collected and
Tribes.
captured and put in his voice, and that's not plagiarism, and it doesn't mean it's less inspired. That's just how these texts are written. Yeah, so good. I'm excited for that article then. Tell us, Beatrice, where can the audience find you? What links do you want to give them? Is there any sort of like lead magnet or anything you like to offer? Like, how can they get in touch with you next?
Yes, for sure. Well, my LinkedIn is the main channel I'm at. We're gonna link my website as well if you want to understand more. Maybe
Perfect.
Something that you've been thinking about, building a personal brand. There's more details there. And I will have a link from my Stan store as well. It's not a lead magnet, but every resource I put there, it's only $5, and I left it like that. More like, was it less than a coffee, less than Starbucks, for a reason. So anyone can afford it. Anyone can learn. We have things about like hooks and strategies. So we'll drop that there as well.
So good.
And yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Beatrice, thank you so much. It was amazing. For the audience, if you made it this far with us, I want you to like and subscribe for me. I will see you in the next one.